It's a problem. Maybe this is why Steve Jobs and Bill Gates and Tim Cook all were super conservative as far as protecting their children from too much online content. Did you know Steve Jobs' kids, you've heard this anecdote, did not use the iPad. He didn't let the iPad in his house for his kids when that was coming out and the touchscreen revolution was starting. Bill Gates' kids, 45 minutes max per day of internet use, and that was for productive, educational, edifying purposes. Tim Cook, the current CEO of Apple, does not have children, but as far as the kids he cares about, his nephew, his teenage nephew, he says, I don't want him on social media. Isn't that interesting? And then these Hollywood people, same thing. They all said, music industry people, Madonna, Tom Cruise, you name it. They were all like, oh yeah, our kids don't watch those movies and listen to that music that our industry is putting out, that we are in. Video game industry, same thing. Adam Alter wrote a great book called Irresistible. In that book, he explains that he interviewed video game designers who admitted that they realize how addictive the video games are. And it's not only that their children are protected from it, that they won't even touch it and play that game or that game because of how addictive it is. Then you start asking the engineers at Facebook and Google and all the big tech Silicon Valley companies, and you start getting the same chorus from all these parents of particularly young children. I find this instructive just as we think about Silicon Valley and how they do things differently than we do, and why. Like, what do they know that we don't know? These people are interviewed, and they say, oh yeah, no smartphone use at all for my children. The nanny who's coming to take care of the kids is not to be on her phone. We want you in the sandbox and go to the park and playing with the dog and Legos and Play-Doh and whatever, art, just doing real things that's not screen-based all day. Why are the people who know these technologies the best, the most concerned, strict, having standards of limitations on them? It's the Silicon Valley disconnected childhood. You might feel like this generation is a disconnected generation because we're not connecting with one another and with Jesus like he wants us to. But Silicon Valley is disconnected, and they're disconnected in a different way. They're really, literally disconnected. We turn the Wi-Fi off at 6 p.m. and have an evening together as a family. You start hearing stories like that. Oh, when it comes to putting our kids in school age, we put them in the schools that are not super high tech, bells and whistles, gamifying the process of education. We want pencil and paper, chalk and chalkboards, gardening, real things. That's the most popular private school in Silicon Valley, is one of those type of schools. And same thing on the East Coast. Sherry Turkle at MIT said it's the same thing here. She was responding to the reports of Silicon Valley being so low tech in their homes and in their schools. She says it's the same thing with the MIT people, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. New York Times did a whole expose on this. They called it the dark consensus about screens and kids begins to emerge in Silicon Valley. And it says, the people who are closest to a thing are often the most wary of it. Technologists know how phones really work, and many have decided they don't want their children anywhere near them. A wariness that has been slowly brewing is turning into a region-wide consensus. Here's the consensus. The benefits, so-called benefits of screens as a learning tool are overblown. I can testify to that. We have a whole message called People of the Book in the Age of the App. And in that message, we go into educational technology, so-called. And it's a $60 billion hoax in the words of one researcher who published in Time magazine. Ed tech is a $60 billion hoax. How there's no research actually showing that utilizing screen-based learning improves learning outcomes. It's either equal or worse. The benefits are overblown because there are none. And the risks of addiction and stunting development seem high. So addiction, we talked about 2 nights ago. Problem with child development, that's a lot we're leaving off. But these guys are up to speed on that. And so they're not eliminating technology. They're not going back to the horse and buggy, but they are saying, we're going to have some standards and limits here. We're going to have ages at which things are not coming in until. We're going to have times of the day that are screen-free.